afternoon, everyone. Welcome to day one of the Greytech Advanced Steel Lunch and Learn Week. Rather than doing our sort of usual hour-long webinars, this week what we're going to be doing is we are going to keep it short and snappy. So 15 minutes maximum. Today's going to be tips and tricks on template files. If you do have any questions, please put them in the chat window and then I will try and answer them at the end, depending on how much time we have. So we are going to go straight into it, and we are literally just going to get cracking because we do only have 15 minutes. So any questions, please type them in, and then once I've run through everything, then we'll look at questions. Okay, so without any further delay, let's actually get into it. So first of all, what is a template and where do we find them? Well, when we click the drop-down arrow for new, you can see in here we have astemplate.dwt. So DWT is our template. So when I start that, this is the default template file that we start with. So there are lots of things that you might use on every project and want to set on every project. And we can actually, rather than repeating the same things every time, we can actually go and do those in a template file. So what I'm going to do, we're going to create a custom template file. I'm going to click open, and then I'm going to change my little drop down in here to drawing template, and that will take me to the correct folder. So you'll see in here, this has taken me to C, Program Data, Autodesk, Advanced Steel 2022, GBR, Shared Support Templates, and that's where our template files are stored. Now what I'm going to do is we should always copy, not edit our template file. So I'm going to call this RM AS Template 2022. We'll open that. So I'm not in a model now, I'm in an actual template. And we're just going to work through some of the things that I would change. So just going to start real simple. I'm going to start by going to a Southwest isometric, and I'm going to go to realistic. Then I can start to change some things in my template file. So if we look at the project settings, for example, we could put the detailer, that's always going to be me, as RM. I'll put that in there. We could, for example, go and look at my NC settings. Do I want my NCs to be based on single part numbers? Do we want different things in the NC settings? Do I want my DXF to say be 2000 version? I can click OK, and that will be set. This is all everything that I'm doing here in a template file. I don't do any modeling in here. This is actually the template file itself. But I'm actually also going to set the numbering in here because I don't want to use post number method none. I want to use single part number for standalone part equals assembly number. And I'm just going to hit the apply and then cancel button. I am rattling through these because this is obviously our lunch and learn week, so I'm only keeping you guys here for 15 minutes. Alec has done a whole long webinar version on creating a custom template file. I might even just rename this as RM AS 2022, just so that when we open it up, we can actually set that kind of thing up. So let's save and close this. And let's save and close that. And if I click New, I have to restart my advanced steel to restart my system. But now we can see in my drop down, if I just click the new button, that would still use the default one. But in my drop down, if I click RM AS Template 2022, you can see that I'm now starting with this. If we look at my project settings, we've got RM in there. If I go to my numbering, that's set automatically. So everything to do with the template file is just trying to set things that we use on every project or day-to-day basis that we don't want to have to try and remember. The more we have to try and remember, the more we're actually going to forget. So what else could we do within a template file, and how could we do it? If I draw a beam in here, you'll see that the beam has a slight transparency to it, but if I draw a plate, for example, that plate doesn't. So what is this and where does it come from? So this is a AutoCAD setting, and it's set up in the default template file. So if I type material attach, so an AutoCAD command, material attach, we can see that on the beam layer we have the glass material assigned to that layer. So I'm going to go and open my template file again. And in here I'm going to type material attach, and I'm going to remove the glass material to begin with. You could associate more materials if you wanted to, so we'll save that. I've obviously got to start a new file. I should have moved out of the way, so we'll just start that. And now if I go and draw a beam, you'll see that we don't have the glass material associated with the beam layer, so it behaves as we would expect it to. What I'm going to do next, I'm going to look at some other things that we could set up in a template file. So when we're modeling in Advanced Steel, we might set up a search filter, let's say for elements. We'll just quickly set up a basic search in here for elements that have a model role of none, because we want to find those. So I could save that search as model role equals, put my cap locks on. Let's we're going to have to go and change that in the Project Explorer. So we've got properties, and we won't. We'll go rename. Model role equals none. I didn't like it. Okay, but that will, when I run that, that will highlight anything that has a model role of none. So we can see in there, if we call this beam, turn the search filter off, run it again, there's nothing in there. So that is something I would want to use all the time on every project. Now, if we set that search up and we save it in a project, what we can do, we can go back to our template file. So I've opened the template file. I can click the search filter button, and because the last search I did was still in this session of Advanced Steel, it will remember those settings. So I can hit the save button here and give it the correct name, model role equals none. And then in my queries, I have that saved in my template file. So again, we'll save and close our template file. We'll start a new drawing. And you can see straight away we have model roll equals none. So if I put a beam in here and let's say we copy it a couple of times and we'll call this beam, we'll call this one rafter, we'll put a plate in there. If I run that query, you can see that the system shows these two items that have a model roll of none. The other things we could do, now if I click the open button, one thing to notice, because I changed it down here to DWT, it will default to a DWT, so I have to go DWG, and let's just open up one of our test sheds. I think search filters are excellent, probably not used enough in my opinion. There's a few things that we can do with our search filter. We just reset this, so we could do a search for bolts. And what we could do in here is we could do a search for bolts that are, say, done in 5mm increments. So we could search for a bolt length that was 15, 25, 35, 45, 55, 55, 75, 85, and say 95. So if I save that as beam 5mm, if we look at beam 5mm, that will run and has found in there bolts that are 45mm long. I can go back to open my template file, as we've just done. I can run the search filter. It's worth just double checking, so it's searching for bolts that are those lengths, bolts 5mm. So even if you don't have to set all of these searches up to begin with, if you find that you've found a good search and you want to use that on a daily basis, you can open your template file straight away, run the search filter again. That will add those to your template file, and you can see now in my template file we have those queries. Probably the last thing we're going to look at today is we don't want to have to click the drop down here, click my RMAS template every single time. I want the system, whether I hit the new button up here or whether I just hit new here, I want the system to use my custom template every single time. So this is something we can set in our AutoCAD settings. So if I click the big application button in the top left of the screen and go options, if we go to files and we want to look for template settings, we have here default template file name for QNew, which is quick new drawing, QNew, and I expand that and that is set to none. So what we can then do is go browse. The system will automatically go to the template folder that's associated with this advanced deal. I can choose RMAS template 2022. So anytime that I click QNew, it will use that file. So just to show you that, if I just click the new button without clicking the drop down at all, and this is why I've renamed this paper space here, because I know that that's using that particular template file. Or if I click the new button at the top here, we can see that's using my RMAS 2022 template. Okay, and as that is our as we're running quick tips and tricks, that's our 15 minutes already done. I did want to just highlight the learning materials that we do have from Greytech. So we have our Advanced Steel content portal. So our normal hour-long webinars, 45-minute to hour-long webinars, they can all be watched from our content portal on demand. So I've put the link there. If you download the PDF handout, you will click the link, or you can just search Greytech Advanced Steel Content Portal. Alec Giles, my colleague, has done a webinar, an hour-long webinar on custom template files. So there's obviously a lot more detail in that webinar. We also have our Advanced Steel blogs. So there's more than 6 years worth of tips and tricks and different bits and pieces in there. So again, click the link. You can register, you can subscribe to the Advanced Steel blogs. We do have our Greytech Advantage portal. So this is for our Greytech customers, where you download your power packs and things like that from. We do also have on there, if you are a Greytech customer and you've missed any of our things like our BIM Up events that we run every year, or our Advanced Steel user groups in the UK, you can get those on our Greytech Advantage site. And then finally, there is our Greytech events page, where you can keep up with any future events that we have. And that takes us to the end of this session. Mark, I can see your email. So Mark's asked, where can we change the country settings to Australian? Is that within your template file you're talking about, Mark, or generally your Advanced Steel? While I'm waiting for Mark to type his question in, if anyone does have any other questions, please obviously type them in now. So in your template file, if we bring up my Advanced Steel, and we go to my RM template in there, your preferred sizes and settings will be controlled if you go to the project settings and you go preferences. That's where you've got your profiles for your different bits and pieces. So that's where you would set that sort of thing. I'll keep the session running for another, let's say, 5 minutes. If anyone does have any questions, please type them in now. If not, thank you very much for joining today's Lunch and Learn session. Hopefully you will join me for the rest of the week, where we'll be looking at other areas of Advanced Steel. So tomorrow is going to be modeling. And as the recording, you guys will get an automatic email in a couple of hours time. There will be a recording automatically in that email. We will also, in the next couple of weeks, get it up onto the content portal and hopefully our YouTube page. A couple more questions in. So Piers, does Advanced Steel have historical steel profiles available? Certain sections, it will vary country to country. Yes, there are some historical profiles. If not, you can add them as custom sections. So if you've got a section through it, or you know the data, you could create your own table and add them in there. Dave, without seeing your model and stuff, I'm not sure. I know you have technical support with us in the UK, so if you want to send your model drawings and standard part files over on support, I can have a look at that this week for you. And Mark, your Connection Vault tab If you've got a couple of screens, it might open up on your main screen if it's the first time you're doing it. If not, the system uses what is called an XML file, which is in your program data and whichever advanced steel build you're using. You can rename that XML file to XML old or old.xml. Shut advanced steel down before you do it, then restart advanced steel, and then it'll put all the pallets back to their default positions if they have been lost off the screen. Okay, well, I can't see any more questions coming in, so I'm going to finish the session there. Thank you very much for attending, and hopefully I will see you for the rest of the Lunch and Learn sessions, 12:30 every day for this week.